I never imagined that two numbers on a lottery ticket would change my life, and even more surprisingly, reveal the true nature of my family. For decades, I lived a quiet, ordinary life in a small town outside Columbus, Ohio. I worked as a school librarian, saved what little I could, and raised my only daughter as a single mother. Life wasn't glamorous, but it was stable, and I was content. Then one Wednesday morning, everything shifted. I was sipping black coffee, flipping through the morning paper when I matched the lottery numbers line by line. At first, I thought my old eyes were betraying me. I wiped my glasses, read again, and then again. There it was, confirmation. I had won $302 million. Not 3, not 32, 302. My breath froze, my mind raced, but strangely, the first emotion wasn't excitement, it was fear. I knew my family well enough to understand that money brought out the worst in people. I had seen relatives fight over wedding gifts, argue about cheap real estate, and stop talking to each other over a $50 dispute. If they knew I had this kind of money, they would rip me apart. So I told no one, not even my daughter. And for a while, life remained exactly the same on the surface. I collected the jackpot anonymously through a trust, hired a financial advisor, and moved my winnings quietly into investments. I didn't buy a mansion, I didn't buy a luxury car, I didn't even take a vacation. I kept everything exactly how it was. But I did allow myself one indulgence, a small, modern cabin at the edge of town, hidden behind thick pine trees. It became my sanctuary, my escape. Only one person noticed something was different. My grandson, Ethan. "Grandma, why do you look happier lately?" he asked one afternoon while helping me clean the attic. I laughed it off. "Just enjoying life, sweetheart." The morning after Ethan promised he would stand by me, I woke up with a strange heaviness in my chest. Not sadness exactly, but the weight of a secret that had grown too large to carry alone. I had pretended to be broke for weeks, long enough to watch the masks fall off the people I had loved for decades, long enough to feel my heart bruise from their indifference, and long enough to realize that Ethan, barely 21, had a heart far older and kinder than anyone else in our family. But I still hadn't planned on telling him the truth. Not yet. I wanted to protect him from the fallout, the manipulation, the pressure. The moment he knew I had millions, everyone would target him too. I couldn't do that to him. I wouldn't. But fate has a funny way of shoving the truth into daylight. It happened on a gray Thursday afternoon, the kind where the sky looks like steel wool and the streets of our Ohio town fall quiet. I was at my cabin, the one no one knew about, sorting through donation boxes when I heard a soft knock on the door. I froze. No one should have known I was there. When I opened the door, I found Ethan standing in the rain, soaked, pale, and shaking like he had run the entire way. "Grandma, we need to talk," he said, breathless. My heart kicked up. "Sweetheart, what happened? You're drenched." He stepped inside, rainwater dripping onto the wooden floor, his hair stuck to his forehead, his clothes clinging to his skin. But what scared me most was his expression, part confused, part frightened, part determined. "Grandma, what is this place?" he asked. I felt my stomach drop. "It's just somewhere I go to get away." He looked around at the modern furniture, the sleek kitchen, the quiet elegance that was impossible to hide. "This doesn't look like something someone broke would have," he said softly. My pulse raced. "Ethan." He swallowed hard. "Dad was yelling at Mom earlier. They were saying things I wasn't supposed to hear. They said you were lying about being broke. They said something about bank statements, about an account they weren't allowed to access." My blood turned cold. Bank statements? Accounts? My daughter? Had she tried to dig into my finances? I kept every account strictly private. My attorney handled the trust. Everything was protected. So how? "What exactly did they say?" I asked. The moment I heard the car doors slam outside, a chill swept through me, colder than the rain soaking Ethan's clothes. My daughter's voice, usually soft and steady, now carried an edge sharp enough to slice through the walls of the cabin. My son-in-law's heavy steps crunched angrily on the gravel path, each one drawing closer, each one sounding less like family and more like threat. Ethan stood immediately. "Grandma, they followed me. I'm so sorry." "It's not your fault," I whispered, though my heart hammered violently in my chest. "Stay behind me." Before I could gather myself, before I could hide any trace of luxury, the front door burst open without so much as a knock. My daughter, Melissa, stood in the doorway, hair frizzy from the rain, eyes blazing with a mixture of fury and disbelief. Behind her, her husband, Greg, looked around the cabin with a disgusted scoff, as if he'd just discovered a treasure chest he believed rightfully belonged to him. "So this is where you've been hiding," Melissa said, her voice trembling. "Mom, I can't just—" She cut me off with a sharp gesture. Don't act innocent. Don't pretend anymore." Greg stepped forward, ignoring Ethan completely, and scanned the polished wood floors, the stone fireplace, the modern appliances. "Not broke. Not even close." Ethan moved between him and me. "Back up, Dad." But Greg ignored him. "Melissa, look at this place. She lied to us. For months. While we struggled, she played some twisted game." My daughter's eyes welled, but not in sadness, in disappointment so deep it made her look older. "Why, Mom? Why would you lie to your own family?" I tried to speak calmly, but my voice wavered. "Because I wanted to protect myself. And because, after years of watching the way money destroys relationships, I needed to know who loved me without expecting anything in return." Melissa shook her head. "That's not fair. You should have trusted us." I swallowed a bitter laugh. "Trust you? Melissa, when I told you I needed help, you tried to send me to a nursing home so you wouldn't have to worry about me. The moment I became inconvenient, you pushed me away." She flinched like I had slapped her. Ethan stepped forward. "Mom, she's right. You didn't help her. You didn't even try." Greg's voice boomed across the small space. "You stay out of this. You knew she was lying." The man in the dark suit stepped into the cabin with the steady confidence of someone who carried more truth than anyone in the room was prepared to face. His shoes left faint, wet prints on the polished floor, and his umbrella dripped quietly at his side. He gave a brief nod to me, then looked at the others with unreadable eyes. "Mrs. Carter," he said formally, "I came as soon as I got your message." Greg blinked. You called a lawyer?" Ethan looked confused. "Grandma, when did you call him?" I gently squeezed Ethan's hand. "I didn't call him today." Greg's eyebrows shot up. "Then why is he here?" The attorney set down his briefcase on the kitchen counter, unlatched the silver locks, and began organizing a neat stack of documents. "Last week, Mrs. Carter instructed me to prepare for the possibility that her financial privacy may be compromised. Given that the situation appears tense, I believed it appropriate to arrive early." Melissa's eyes widened. "You planned this?" I shook my head. "I planned to protect myself, not this confrontation." The attorney cleared his throat. "Before we discuss anything, I need to establish something very clearly. Mrs. Carter is under no obligation to disclose her financial status to anyone." He looked directly at my daughter and son-in-law. "Her assets are protected under her private trust. They are not legally accessible to family members without her written authorization." Greg scoffed. "Oh, come on. She's our mother. Of course she'd want to help us." The attorney did not even blink. That is not a legal claim. Melissa stepped closer, her voice cracking. Mom, we deserve the truth. I finally met her eyes. You don't want the truth, you want the money attached to it. She gasped as if I had struck her. That's not fair. Greg's voice rose. We're drowning in debt while you're living in some secret luxury hideaway? How could you watch us struggle and say nothing? I forced myself to stay calm. I watched you struggle because you refused to listen when I offered advice. You want the reward without the responsibility. That's why I couldn't tell you. The attorney spoke again, voice low and controlled. If I may, there's something all of you should hear. He pulled out a thick envelope, sealed in crimson wax. My will. Ethan's breath hitched. Grandma, that's... Yes, I said softly. I updated it recently. Greg lunged forward. You can't do that without talking to us first. Yes, she can. The soft rustle of paper echoed in the tense silence as my attorney unfolded the document. Melissa and Greg leaned forward like predators, spotting prey, their eyes fixed on the stack of legal pages, as if wealth might spill out of the ink. Ethan stayed close to me, tense, uneasy, not sure what any of this meant. He wasn't expecting anything. They were expecting everything. The attorney cleared his throat. This, he said calmly, is the updated beneficiary assignment for Mrs. Carter's private trust. Greg smirked. Finally, something reasonable. Melissa wiped her tears, hope flickering back into her eyes. Mom, tell me we're on it. Just tell me we're not cut out. I didn't say a word. The attorney continued. This document specifies who will inherit the trust's assets, including liquid funds, real estate holdings, investments, and future interest. Ethan whispered, Grandma, I don't need anything from you. You don't have to do this. I squeezed his hand again. Just listen, sweetheart. Greg tapped his foot impatiently. Can we get to the point? Who's the beneficiary? The attorney flipped the page and read, As of last week, Mrs. Carter has designated one individual as the sole beneficiary of her estate. Melissa held her breath. Greg leaned over the counter, ready to grab the papers. Ethan took a cautious step back, uncomfortable with the attention. And then the attorney said the words none of them were prepared for. The sole beneficiary is Mrs. Carter's grandson, Ethan Carter. The world stopped. The air froze. And for a full 3 seconds, no one breathed. Ethan's jaw dropped. What? No, that has to be a mistake. He looked at me in shock, shaking his head. Grandma, this can't be right. Greg's face turned a dangerous shade of red. Melissa's lips parted in disbelief. You're kidding. Tell me this is a joke. Mom, please, tell me this is not real. Greg slammed his fist on the countertop. You left everything to him? He's a kid. He doesn't even know how to manage money. The attorney didn't flinch. Mr. Carter, please, calm down. Ethan looked at me, desperation in his eyes. I don't want this. I didn't ask for this. I stood, my voice steady even though my hands trembled. You're not getting it now, Ethan. Not today, not tomorrow. This is for the future, for the life you will build, a life based on integrity. Greg snapped. So we get nothing after everything we've done? I faced him directly. You did nothing but take advantage of me. You pushed me aside the moment you thought I couldn't provide. My attorney's words hung in the air like smoke, dark, suffocating, impossible to ignore. Someone attempted to access your trust account 10 minutes ago. Ethan snapped his head toward Melissa and Greg, eyes wide with disbelief. Melissa's breath hitched, her trembling hands clasped together as if she were suddenly praying. Greg stiffened, shoulders tightening, jaw clenching. The room felt like it shrank to half its size. I steadied myself. What do you mean someone tried to access it? The attorney tapped his phone and brought up a secured screen. Your trust is triple protected. Biometric logging, encrypted passwords, and multi-layered financial firewalls. When someone tries to break through, even partially, we get an alert through our firm. Greg scoffed. You make it sound like some kind of fortress. The attorney's gaze sharpened. It is, and someone still attempted to breach it. Melissa looked horrified. Are you saying one of us tried to steal from Mom? My attorney didn't answer. He didn't have to. His eyes slid toward Greg, not accusing, not confrontational, just watching. Greg's face tightened defensively. Don't look at me like that. I wouldn't know where to start with hacking anything. I barely understand my email. Ethan stepped forward, voice rising. Dad, the timing is too perfect. 10 minutes ago, you were ranting about how Grandma owes you. Greg's eyes flashed dangerously. You think I'd steal from my own mother-in-law? You already tried to force her, Ethan shot back. So yeah, I think you're capable of worse. Melissa took a step toward her husband. Greg, please tell me you had nothing to do with this. His lip curled. Oh, so now you're blaming me too? She whispered, I'm asking. Voice breaking. Greg glared at her. Maybe instead of blaming me, you should ask why your mother didn't trust us in the first place. My voice cut through the argument like a blade. Enough. They froze. I leveled my gaze directly at Greg. The account came from a device registered in your name. His entire body went still. Melissa gasped, covering her mouth. Greg? Oh my God. He stammered. No, that's impossible. My phone was in the car. I didn't touch anything. The attorney calmly responded. It wasn't done on a phone. It came from a laptop listed under your business account. Greg blinked. My work laptop? But I didn't. His voice caught. Ethan's eyes widened as realization struck. Mom! Melissa jolted. What? You think I did it? Greg spun toward her. Did you use my laptop? She shook her head rapidly. No, I didn't even know the password. The attorney, ever collected, added quietly. The attempt used saved credentials. Saved. Pre-stored, meaning someone had tried before. The room fell silent. Greg's face went pale. Not the angry flush he'd worn earlier, but something more fragile. Fear. Guilt. Exposure. Craig? Melissa whispered, tears forming. Tell me the truth. He inhaled shakily. I only looked once. Weeks ago. I just wanted to see if she was hiding something. The voice on the other side of the door froze every drop of blood in my veins. David. My older brother. The one who used to walk me to school in the rain. The one who lent me $20 when I was a young single mother. The one who had never raised his voice at me a day in his life. Until now. Ethan moved closer to me, instinctively protective. My attorney stood still, his expression controlled but alert. The knock came again. Harder this time. Not violent, but forceful, with purpose. Open the door, sis. I'm not leaving. His tone was calm, but unnervingly so, like someone who had already decided how this conversation would go. My hands trembled as I stood. Ethan grabbed my arm gently. Grandma, don't, he whispered. We don't know what he wants. But I did know. Or at least I had a sinking feeling. He wants the cabin, and maybe more. The attorney stepped forward. Mrs. Carter, I strongly advise letting me speak first. Let me assess the situation. But David's voice cut through the walls again. I know you're in there, and I know you've got company. Don't make me knock again. Something about his certainty made my chest tighten. How long had he been watching me? How much did he know? I swallowed hard and opened the door. David stood there, rain clinging to his coat, hair damp, eyes sharper than I'd ever seen them. Not angry, not frantic, calm. Too calm. Finally, he muttered, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. Ethan stiffened. The attorney subtly shifted position, placing himself near me. David scanned the room, noting the tension, the open legal folders, the expressions on everyone's faces. So, he said slowly, I guess the secret's out. I tried to speak, but my voice cracked. David, what are you doing here? He looked at me with piercing disappointment. What am I doing here? What are you hiding money, properties, and trust funds from your own family? My heart sank. I didn't hide it. I just didn't tell anyone. He let out a dark laugh. Same thing. Ethan stepped forward. You filed a claim on this cabin. Why? He glared at him. This is a family matter. Stay out of it. The attorney cut in smoothly. He's her legal heir and designated beneficiary. He has every right to be here. David's gaze hardened. Beneficiary. So, you're the golden boy now. Ethan didn't react. This isn't about me. Oh, but it is, he hissed. Because your grandmother decided the rest of us don't matter. I took a shaky breath. For a long moment, no one in the cabin spoke. The rain outside softened into a steady whisper, but inside, the air felt thick, charged with a new kind of fear. A threat we couldn't see. A threat we hadn't even suspected. Someone inside the county office? Someone watching my trust? Someone who knew just enough to be dangerous. I sank onto the edge of the couch, my knees suddenly weak. David, I whispered, why didn't you tell me any of this sooner? He sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. Because I wasn't sure what was real and what wasn't. At first, I thought it was just a clerk being nosy. Then I got another call, and another, all from blocked numbers. They kept asking if you had authorized any changes to your property portfolio. My attorney stiffened. Changes? What kind of changes? David shook his head. Transfer inquiries, ownership verification, something about releasing access logs. They spoke like someone who already had part of the puzzle and wanted the rest. Ethan frowned. Why would someone in the government care about Grandma's trust? My attorney answered gravely. Because if someone inside wants access, they're not looking for small gains. They're looking for everything. A shiver laced down my spine. David's eyes softened as he looked at me. I know I shouldn't have filed that claim, sis. I messed up. But I wasn't trying to take from you. I was trying to create a paper trail, something that would force the system to slow down before someone else got to you. Emotion tightened my throat. All this time, I'd assumed his motives were the same as Melissa's, Greg's, and everyone else's. Money, entitlement, greed. But his eyes told a different truth. Maybe he wasn't the enemy. Maybe he was the alarm I didn't know I needed. My attorney cleared his throat. Mr. Carter, did this woman tell you what department she was calling from? No, he said, but she knew the trust name. She knew the cabin address. She knew details that shouldn't be public. My chin clenched. So someone leaked Grandma's private information? Yes, the attorney said grimly, and someone is trying to access it before legal lockdowns take effect. I looked between them, panic rising. What do? We secure everything, the attorney said, immediately. Ethan moved closer. Tell us how. My attorney opened his briefcase again, pulling out a series of metallic envelopes. These contain multi-factor security tokens. They're not connected to the internet. They can't be hacked remotely. But we need to activate them now. David raised an eyebrow. So this is serious. The attorney nodded. Mrs. Carter's fortune is not just large. It's attractive to criminals, opportunists, and people desperate enough to try anything. David muttered. No kidding. The words on the tablet burned into my brain like acid. Breach detected. Source. Internal family access code. Ethan stiffened beside me. Grandma, it's him. Greg. My stomach dropped. He left. David's face went pale. You mean he's already back at his office? Or worse, he's doing this remotely right now? Yes, the attorney said grimly. The emergency family access codes allow him to bypass even some of the strongest security layers. Whoever has that code can attempt withdrawals, transfers, or even manipulate trust records. And right now, someone is using it. Ethan clenched his fists. I can't believe he'd actually try to take everything. I shook my head, fighting tears. I wanted to protect him, my grandson, my family, and yet, some people are willing to destroy everything just for greed. David's voice softened. This isn't just greed, sis. This is desperation. He's panicking. He thinks he's entitled. He's used to taking shortcuts. He didn't understand the consequences. I glared at him. Consequences? Consequences for everyone else, maybe, but not for him. He's been plotting this for weeks. He followed Ethan. He tried to trick me. And now, he's attacking my trust. The attorney's fingers flew over the tablet. I'm isolating the device, tracing the IP. But the transfer is active. He's moving funds already. Small amounts, testing the system. If he isn't stopped, he could bypass the remaining security. Ethan leaned forward, eyes blazing. Can't we just lock him out? Freeze everything? The attorney shook his head. It's a race. Some of the encryption layers require authorization from all recognized emergency family codes. We can only isolate him after blocking his privileges, and that takes a few minutes. If we fail, everything is exposed. David swallowed. And what if he notices we're onto him? What if he escalates? I took a deep, trembling breath. Then we stop him, right here, right now. Ethan grabbed my arm. Grandma, do you want me to confront him? I shook my head. No, he's dangerous enough as it is. Let the attorney handle the lockdown. Don't give him a reason to panic. The attorney's eyes were fixed on the tablet. We're almost there. I'm tracking every attempt, every login, every modification. He's sophisticated, but not smart enough to bypass the emergency override we're initiating. Suddenly, the tablet beeped. Red text flashed. Emergency override initiated. 10% success. Ethan's jaw tightened. Come on, come on. David muttered, This is insane. He's literally trying to steal everything while standing in another city, probably laughing about it too. I clenched my hands in my lap, nails digging into my palms. If he succeeds, all of this, gone. My life, your inheritance. For a few precious seconds after the lockdown succeeded, the cabin felt still, peaceful even. But peace wasn't real. Peace was an illusion, a fragile pause before something bigger forced its way in. My attorney closed the tablet slowly, exhaling. Mrs. Carter, the immediate threat is contained, but we cannot assume safety. Whoever accessed your trust used Greg's family emergency code, yes, but the precision of the attack suggests someone guided him. David frowned. Guided, meaning what? He had help? Professional help, the attorney said. Greg isn't skilled enough to bypass multi-factor security. He wasn't working alone. Ethan's eyes hardened. So the real hacker is still out there? My attorney nodded. Likely still trying. A cold shiver crept up my spine. Greg was a problem, but he wasn't the problem. Someone else, someone smarter, more patient, more dangerous, had been circling my accounts like a vulture. And they weren't done. Before I could gather myself, my phone buzzed with a notification. Unknown number. David stepped closer, protective for once. Don't answer that, sis. But the message preview flashed across the screen anyway. Lockdown won't save you. My heart lurched. Ethan grabbed the phone from my hand immediately, jaw tightening. Grandma, this isn't from Greg. The attorney's voice was low, urgent. Don't respond. Whoever sent that has access to your internal contact information. That means they've studied you. They know your patterns. They've been watching long before today. David paced anxiously. So what? Someone wants to blackmail her? Threaten her? The attorney shook his head. No, if they wanted money, they would have demanded it. This is intimidation. Someone's warning us that the lockdown only slowed them down. Ethan swallowed. They want her scared. Well, David muttered, they're succeeding. I felt my fingers tremble, but I forced myself to breathe. I had weathered heartbreak, betrayal, manipulation. I would weather this too. What do we do? I asked quietly. The attorney sat at the table, pulling out new documents. 3 things. First, we file a motion for federal protection of your trust. Second, we revoke all family codes permanently. Third, we begin an audit to trace the hacker's digital footprint. David crossed his arms. And what about Greg? He gets a free pass? Ethan's voice sharpened. No, he gets consequences. The attorney nodded. Attempted theft from a protected trust, unauthorized access of federal financial systems, and using forged access credentials, those are criminal offenses. But exposing him isn't our priority yet. Stopping the external threat is. The cabin grew silent again as the attorney typed furiously, his fingers. The envelope sat on the porch step, pristine, almost mocking in its simplicity. My name, written in precise, familiar handwriting, made my stomach twist. Claire, my old banker, the woman I had once trusted with a fraction of my secrets. David froze beside me. Sis, do you recognize the handwriting? I swallowed hard, nodding slowly. Yes, and that's the problem. Ethan's eyes narrowed. You're saying she's behind this? I don't know if she's behind it, but she's involved, I whispered. She had information no one else should have known, and now she's delivering a message. The attorney stepped closer, voice tight. Do not open it here, not outside. Whoever left this may have left surveillance or another trap. Bring it inside. Scan it for tampering. Check for electronic devices. I nodded, my hands trembling as I picked up the envelope. It felt heavier than it should, a weight that seemed to drag the air out of the room. Ethan knelt beside me. Grandma, are you sure about this? I have to know what she wants. Inside, the envelope was simple. A single sheet of paper folded carefully. I unfolded it. The message was short, almost cryptic. You made the right choice keeping it secret, but they know now. Be careful who you trust. David frowned slowly. She's warning you? I think so, but it's not comforting. She could be testing me, or she could be letting the real players know I've moved. Ethan's jaw clenched. So everyone knows now? Yes, I admitted quietly. Greg, Melissa, David, and now her. Everyone who has tried to access the trust is aware that it exists and that it's protected. The attorney stepped forward. This changes our strategy. We cannot assume Claire is an ally anymore. She may be signaling others or even working with them. I felt a pang of betrayal. I trusted her. I thought she wanted to help me protect what I had. David shook his head slowly. Sis, sometimes the people you trust most are the ones you need to watch. Ethan squeezed my hand. Grandma, whatever happens, I'll stay with you. I don't care about the money. I just care about you. I looked at him, feeling a rush of both pride and fear. And that's why you've earned it all, Ethan. Not the money itself, but the loyalty.